Good afternoon. Welcome to this conference call hosted by the 391 Forward Rank and File Education Committee. My name is Chris Cecil, and I'm a shop steward at UPS Greensboro on the Twilight Sort. The purpose of this call is to discuss how the COVID-19 or coronavirus pandemic is affecting us as Teamsters in Local 391 and how we can work together to keep us safe. We have members on this call from UPS, ABF, YRC, Gilbarco, and other job sites across the state. While we may work in different industries, we all have the same concerns and need to be united in how we fight back against companies that are doing too little, too late, as we keep this country moving. As of yesterday, there were 2,093 confirmed COVID-19 cases in North Carolina, with 19 deaths and 259 currently hospitalized. While there have been multiple members ordered to self-quarantine across the local, UPS Greensboro had what I believe was the first confirmed case of COVID-19 in our local union on the Twilight Sort this week. While the employee had not been at work for 11 days prior to testing positive, the company did not take social distancing requirements from the Center for Disease Control seriously until after the fact. We want to share information on this call today to make sure we hold the bosses accountable, to make sure that we're spreading facts, not rumors, and to force them to act proactively rather than reactively when dealing with this pandemic. Before we start our reports, I'd like to encourage you to follow us for more information. Our website is www.391fwd.com, and you can join our Facebook group, Local 391 members only. Our first report will be from Donovan Atkins out of ABF Winston-Salem. Don is an over-the-road driver, a shop steward, and also a member of 391 Forward.
All righty. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank everybody for joining us on this conference call this Saturday afternoon. As Chris said, I'm Donovan Atkins, ABF Over-the-Road Steward and 391 Forward member. As some of you may know, ABF laid off 12 road drivers as of Friday, April the 4th, 2020. Some of the biggest concerns for the members is their health insurance during this COVID-19 crisis that we're currently enduring. I've communicated with management, and all of the layoff drivers will have the option for any extra work that may be available above any casual or preferential employee if they choose to do so as work becomes available. ABF locally and nationally are trying to provide wipes, gloves, and hand sanitizer. As you know, these items are becoming scarce. I urge all drivers that when they get some of their wipes and stuff to bring a Ziploc baggie to keep enough for the week, because you know at some of these terminals that we go to, you have to ask for them upon request. They're not just out there. To let some of you may or may not know, there has been a complaint filed against the ABF manager that during this crisis that we're going through threatened to kiss a driver in the mouth, hoping to have this deadly disease and spread it to him. This is a big issue and not a joking situation, as this is affecting us all nationally and worldwide. The biggest issue that the drivers are vexed about is the locals' decision on how the runs will be run. They wish that they were asked about their input. The decision the local made will affect certain drivers' paychecks drastically, basically cutting some of them in half. I have worked with our laydown hotels, and they have issued keys for weeks, so we do not even have to go into the check-in lobby to keep social distancing. In closing, I wish all of you to be safe, take care of your families, and we will rise above this current crisis that we are all enduring as Teamsters.
Thank you, Don. Next up, we have Derek Williamson. Derek is a preloader and part-timer at UPS in Lumberton. Derek, could you tell us what you're seeing in your building?
Good afternoon, everyone. Like you said, I'm a preloader for 12 years now with UPS in Lumberton. Since bringing it to the attention of the morning supervisors, unfortunately, I have seen very little concern. Some things that I've been thinking about over the past couple of days is the social distancing part. With a couple of less routes being in, we have the ability in our building and behind our building to space out routes more to create more distance between employees. As far as the cleaning, I am not seeing the deep cleaning. I have seen a checklist put up. We're using the scanners in the mornings to scan each package as we load it. An individual at the end of the morning shift wipes those down, signs off on a checklist each day. I do commend them for that. At least they're making sure we have plenty of wipes for that. The scanner that myself and the gentleman across the belt from me use, they are not getting the attention. I myself have started wiping them down this past week. That's just a few of the things, but I definitely appreciate the opportunity to be on the call, and if there's anything I can do, relay messages or, just any way I can help, I'll be glad to. I appreciate your time.
Thank you, Derek. And that's one of the reasons why we're having this call today is to share information across the local. You'll hear from some folks in Greensboro as well, including myself. But right now we're getting ready to go to Chris Jackson. Chris Jackson is a package car driver at a UPS in Durham. Go ahead, Chris. I'm meeting you right now.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm glad to be here. And I was just explaining a couple of things at Durham. Like I said, I am a full-time driver, and we actually almost had to scare ourselves. We had a driver that had to be tested himself, and he self-quarantined before he actually took the test, but he did come back negative. But the steps leading up to that is what concerned us. Our shop steward, Tim Brown, and another member had to go and force management to actually do something about it, because not knowing that the driver who had self-quarantined, no one knew that he actually left work because thought he was exposed to someone. So we had to force a management hand to wipe the truck down. We had to force a management hand to at least try to quarantine the truck, which they would not do. Us forcing their hand, they have tried to get out the preload is trying to wipe down trucks, the hands, the steering wheels, knobs on the truck, and things of that sort, which really doesn't do anything. And we try to explain that, but that's their way of saying that they are at least doing something. And they'll car wash at night. These are the things that they're trying to do, but no one is washing the trucks. No one is doing any of the things, and we're still breathing the dust. And then again, not knowing who may or may not be or want to be self-quarantined. The manager has started taking sanitation rags and spraying those, trying to get everything wiped off. We use alcohol pads and trying to do some things at the center. Outside of that, that's pretty much all I can report on the Durham Center. Thank you, Chris.
I appreciate it, brother. Just one quick response to the mask situation. Business agent Chris Vaughn is on this call, and we'll be hearing from him later on. There were 2,400 masks delivered to the UPS Greensboro facility for people to use. So the disconnect between management in your building and management in our building definitely needs to be addressed. So next up, we've got Randy Conrad. Randy Conrad is also a driver at ABF. I believe he is a yard driver. Go ahead, Randy. Can you tell us about the dock situation and what you're seeing at the terminal?
Okay, thank you, Chris. This is Randy Conrad. The concern on the yard is getting in and out of the tractors after they come in, because we have to get in each and every one of them and pull them out from under the set. So the yard guys are, we're concerned about that. Let's see. We have to we did bring it to the management's attention about the cleanliness, and then they were slow to move. Finally, they're moving now, which, here we are 2 weeks into this, which we told them 2 weeks ago they should be doing some things. So now, from my understanding, they did tape off dispatch this morning, for 6 feet and so forth. I had to bring it to their attention. When we have our pre-shift, we didn't want to have 5 guys in one little bitty office. So they put us in a conference room now, which is much bigger. So we can, do our 6 feet there. The concern here is the layoffs. In freight, it used to be if you worked 1 day, you got some of your insurance paid. If you work 2 days, you get a little bit more. And if you work 3 days, you get it all paid. Well, now Central States went back and changed that, as people know at the first of the year, that you got to work a full 3 days. All right, when you have a layoff in freight, it may not be like some layoffs, because they got to call you before they call somebody else behind you. So you may only work 1 day. So that's going to screw your unemployment up. And then you're not going to get still not going to get no insurance. So that's a big concern. And I did sign a petition this morning, which I've passed around. If Central States Team Care could go back and reverse that to the 1 day, 2 day, and 3 day, that would be a big help right there. I mean, even in car haul, they announced the other day that they paid them for 2 weeks insurance after they laid them off. Some managers here, when you do point it out to them, they take initiative right then. And starting today, like I said, they're starting to put the 6 feet dispatch rule because it's in very confined space. But I appreciate the opportunity to speak. And everybody stay safe. Take care of your families. If you feel sick, call your doctor right then. Thank you.
Thank you, Randy. And just to expand a little bit on what Randy was talking about, most of us or all of us are in Team Care. Team Care is one of the best funded Taft-Hartley healthcare plans in the country. They have over 24 months of reserves. That means if all the health and welfare contributions stop coming into the company, they could continue to pay benefits out for 2 years. They definitely have the cash on hand to help out our people in freight. All right, so next up, we've got Ronnie Hunter. Ronnie Hunter is a Raleigh feeder driver. He is also a member of 391 Forward. Ronnie, I am unmuting you right now.
Good afternoon, everyone. Just a few things about what's going on in Raleigh. I saw my safety co-chair, and I was telling him that we needed, some wipes or some hand sanitizer for the drivers, and so that we can clean our tractors with. And he said he would send an email to our manager, Mike Youngdahl. And this week, they got like a 5-gallon bucket of wipes that they put Clorox and water in to kind of make, some hand wipes. So they said, get as many as you need, to wipe down your tractor, which, I think that's pretty good. You're allowing 2 drivers in at a time when you're talking to dispatch. They're limiting the amount of people inside the office and simulation and yard control. And in the hub, they have out by the belts where the supervisors work from their belts on the for their work. They have outlined in chalk, marked for 6 feet, trying to keep people away from each other. They're doing virtual OGS rides and feeders, just like package car. They're doing safety observations on guys. I spoke to my immediate supervisor about that. I said, the main thing you guys really need to be doing with us, I said, the job is already stressful enough. These are unforeseen, uncertain times with this pandemic. I said, you guys should be telling us good job, thank you, and giving us an elbow bump every time we come in. Other than that, that's all I have. Thank you.
Thanks, Ronnie. We're going to go back to Linda Clyburn. We were having some technical difficulties earlier. Linda is at Gilbarco. I'm going to go ahead and mute you, Linda. If you're on the call, go ahead.
Well, good afternoon, everybody. So as he said, I'm in Greensboro. I'm with Gilbarco. We employ probably roughly 600 hourly associates in one building. So when we had our meeting on Tuesday of this week, my concern was the social distancing. I brought that up when it came time for the Q&As. And of course, he says that we were in full compliance with social distancing. And I'm like, how are we in full compliance when you've got associates that are working side by side, face to face? I basically was like, you're not practicing what the governor has ordered for social distancing. And he kept saying, we are in compliance. I will say this, don't stand down. People are dying. We have every right to fight for what is right for all of us. Of course, we get frustrated. I think all of us are probably to a level of being frustrated because, like I told the plant manager on Tuesday morning in our meeting, maybe you guys will look at this differently when it hits home. It's hit home for me. I have a cousin who is 1 year older than me. I'm 54. She's on a ventilator. She's fighting for her life. So by yesterday afternoon, they announced the plant will be shutting down now for 2 weeks. I stood for what I believed in, not just for myself, but for everyone, whether they're union or not union. We are all human beings. He said in the meeting yesterday, this is also going to give them time to try to reevaluate and redesign some things so production can start back up on the 20th and be able to maintain the distancing. And that's pretty much all I've gotten. Like I said, everybody just stay safe.
Sister Clyburn, thank you so much for your advocacy for the members of Gilbarco. And I'm going to go ahead and speak on behalf of our group, 391 Forward. If anything happens, we've got your back and we'll be with you 100%. Next up is going to be Calvin Tinman. Calvin Tinman is a feeder driver out of Chapel Hill. Go ahead, Calvin.
Good afternoon, everyone. Basically, Ronnie touched on a lot of things that I was going to say because we are both in feeders, but I'm basically out of an outline center, which is Chapel Hill, so I go to Raleigh and Greensboro. And the biggest thing I'm really seeing that's really a big concern for me is the social distancing. In my small center, there are 2 people in the preload and the unload, less than 2 feet apart, unloading trailers, sweating, talking to each other. It's just really a bad situation with that. They were told to wear masks, but, it's not really being enforced. I don't think they're even providing any masks for them. When I was in Greensboro last night, some of the guards are bringing, when you come to the guard shack, you have to give them your keys and your paperwork. Some of them are giving you a little basket to put your stuff in, but others are just, reaching out. I told them I wasn't going to give them my keys. I could hang them out the window, and, they could go with that, and they were fine with that. But that's kind of an issue because, to hand someone your keys, you got to have hand-to-hand contact with them. I had a couple of friends that I saw that are sleeper team drivers, and I never thought about that. They're really concerned about the social distancing because, it's 9 to 14 days before you realize that you're sick, so they don't even know, and they're basically breathing the same air. A lot of the drivers should be proactive, and they're doing a lot of wipe downs in my center. I've seen them late at night wiping the trucks down, but we've got to really be proactive and take it upon ourselves. Ronnie, I took a little extra time on my pre-trip and my punch-out time. I just took time to wipe it down, and I just have to deal with it if they say anything. But we do have supplies present in our center now. It's been about 2 weeks, but they finally had some this morning in there. They're wiping down the diad boards and the scanners and most of the trucks every night. If your truck's not being wiped down, the center manager is saying that, let him know. He's being pretty proactive. He told me personally that he's really concerned with it, and he's not getting a lot of feedback from upper management. This was like 3 weeks ago, so he really is kind of concerned with it, which was shocking, and I was glad to hear that. The observations in package car, they're still pretty much doing them, and they're not giving them discipline. Rick and I spoke last week about this, but he said they could do the observations, but they're not giving discipline, and they're basically just threatening the guys. But at this time, you're getting 200 stops because you don't have businesses, so you're getting slammed with residentials. And it's just, the timing of this, you got a lot on your mind. It's a tough thing to deal with. I think they should really kind of just lay back and help wipe trucks down if they need something to do. But I'm just hoping and praying that everyone is safe and doing the right things and taking it upon themselves. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, Calvin. Next up, we've got James Mateer. James Mateer is a shop steward out of UPS Greensboro on the day shift. He is also a member of 391 Forward. James, I'm unmuting you now. Go ahead, brother.
How's everybody doing this today? On April the 1st, me, myself, Kenyatta, Frida, Ty, shop stewards from Noonday Greensboro had a meeting with division manager, state transportation, hub manager about COVID-19 guidelines and what they are going to do to make sure rank and file are safe. Division manager, state transportation manager, hub manager assured us they was going to follow the guidelines the best way they can. Division manager told us one person in the trailer working, unload and load, to abide by the 6-foot rule. E-rig line, division manager put red tape down so rank and file would know where to stand to keep them separated, 6 foot apart. Sorters already stand 5 foot apart. Division manager spoke on dropping bars back. Division manager said company ordered 2,400 face masks for Greensboro. On Thursday, Chris Cecil did do a walkthrough through the unloads. I also did a walkthrough through the unloads and loads and Kenyatta Mateer also did walkthroughs through the unload. And we did see some doors doubled up. When we did approach the company about it, they did try to separate them as fast as they could. So I just want everybody to have a happy, safe weekend, and please, please, please stay home.
Thanks, James. Next up, we've got Nichelle Fulmore. Nichelle Fulmore is a package car driver out of UPS Lumberton. She's also a member of 391 Forward. Go ahead, Shell.
Hello, good afternoon, everyone. Myself and the other steward in the building, Brian Walls, we had a parking lot meeting with our guys, a social distancing parking lot meeting this week. Just informing the guys that we need to take this thing serious by social distancing in the building. They have eliminated the PCMs. So basically, we encouraged our guys to come in right about start time, get your board, get your paperwork, get to your truck, and get ready to move out. Also, in the afternoons, just clock out in the truck and then be able to put your board up, wash your hands, and go ahead and leave the building. We have to be cautious on the route. I mean, we are just paranoid out there. We don't know what we touch, who we coming in contact with. So we encourage our drivers, not to really ring doorbells, touch doorknobs, just kind of lay the packages on the porch and get away as quickly as possible. But, I have to say that, I'm going to have to go along with Sister Linda. This is not a time for us to be fearful, rank and file. I mean, like she said, we're dealing with a life and death situation. I mean, if we see something that's unsafe, we need to make it aware. To the management team, if they still don't want to do it, I'm sure, if we call our local BA, they're going to go ahead and jump on this thing because they understand we can't really wait for a grievous procedure at this point. And this, with this pandemic, it has also opened the eyes of many workers to understand just how important we are because we run this country. Fast food workers, grocery store workers, all these workers like this are now essential workers. And we have to remember when you look at history, some of our best labor laws that we still brag on to this day came out of the era of the Great Depression. So, brothers and sisters, we need to stay strong, join in solidarity with other workers, and let's hold the bosses accountable. Be safe, everyone, and let's stick together and pull ourselves through this pandemic. Chris, I'll give it back to you.
Thanks, Shell. Tyrone Batchelor is a driver out of UPS Fayetteville and a member of the 391 Forward Rank and File Education Committee. Tyrone, got you unmuted. Go ahead, brother.
Hey, good evening, everybody. This is Tyrone Batchelor out of Fayetteville. We all know that it's the SCAR COV1 and a COV-19. And they both live for several hours. Today's on plastic, stainless steel, which is 5.6 hours on the stainless steel, which most of our package cars, all of our package cars are made of our steel. Cardboard, 24 hours. So I would like for the company to sanitize the trucks on a daily at the end of the sort, end of the driver sort, when all package cars are parked back to their final destination. So they should be sanitized. And also, social distance should be at least a 30-minute gap between your preloader and your driver. Of course, someone say they canceling all PCMs, which is good, but then tell us go to the truck, and your trucks are still being loaded. So I'm in the truck, and the preloader's in the truck. That should not be happening because that's not social distance. The observations are being done in Fayetteville. It has been 2 suspension letters handing out for 3As. Myself is included for following too close. So the observation should be, I would love our business agent to talk with our labor board manager and tell him to stop and desist to all observations during this pandemic. This is ridiculous that we've been harassed while we're on a route and trying to save other people's lives. We are required to take a full lunch. But where do we take our lunch? In the dirty truck that we're sitting in? So why are we not authorized to I normally don't 05 our lunch, but we should have a choice to 05 our lunch because it's no restaurants open. We can't use the bathroom. You can't drive through a drive-through with the UPS truck, so we can't get nothing to eat. And I think that pretty much covers Fayetteville, what's going on. And thank y'all for given me this opportunity.
Thank you, Tyrone. And next up, we've got business agent Chris Vaughn. Chris Vaughn represents our members at UPS Greensboro, High Point, and Winston-Salem. I know the package car lunch issue has been a major topic in Greensboro. He's also been on daily conference calls with Joint Council 9, with UPS management. Go ahead, Chris.
Thanks, Chris. Thanks for inviting me. I am glad this call is going on because there is great concern about what's been going on in every company. I will just say first and foremost that I know personally that each and every business agent has been on the phone constantly, not only with the company, but with members and with the IBT, trying to get things moving faster than they were moving. And we all understand that none of the companies, were ahead of the game. Everybody was behind. And the workers truly, they suffered, and our members suffered. And the only thing I can say is right now we can't change the past. And I think just about everyone on the call reiterated the same thing. We got to continue to take care of ourselves. And you can't expect the company to do anything. But I can assure you that Teamsters Local 391 will put pressure on every company and every manager and every division manager. So what I will say is that we need the shop stewards and the rank and file to communicate with us. So if you see you call it an infraction, a contract violation, anything of all of the above, okay, you need to contact your BA. If you're rank and file, you obviously go to your steward. The steward calls us. If you want to call us, go right ahead, okay? But you got to understand that our phone rings all day, okay? And I would just say that if we stay together and we continue to work, that, we'll be safe. But you have to take care of yourself first and foremost. These companies are only going to do the bare minimum that's required by the CDC or the state government. So that's as far as just for the UPSers. What I will say is what I know from UPS is they've continued to order stuff. Yes, they were behind. And I would agree wholeheartedly. I was out there. I understand. I raised my concerns from day one. As soon as the governor dropped, social distancing, I was on them. But they can't do anything without corporate approval. That's what the world we're living in. So what I will say is that everybody needs to support each other, and everybody needs to respect each other, and everybody needs to comply with what's going on. A lot of the people that you talk to and the members and the employees, some of them care and some of them don't, okay? But we have to educate the ones that aren't complying or don't care or don't understand. And we as a group need to educate them. And I will say that. And once again, I have always given out my business card to anybody who wanted it. And I know there's non-members that have them. Okay. But I will just say that, for $10 and I can get 500 business cards, that's the easy win for me. So I will continue to give my number out, and anybody can call me. I take calls from all over the state. I take them from Chapel Hill down east, all over the place. So I will just in closing say that this is a great call, and I will hope that each individual company will continue to do the safe measures, and that would probably exclude Gilbarco since you guys are going to be out 2 weeks. Thank you so much for having me on the call, and I'll see you soon.
Thanks, Chris. And just to follow up on that, Chris and I have been in basically daily communication for every day this week. A couple of things that have gone down. We've seen UPS Greensboro basically do a 180 on how they've been dealing with the crisis. There was an article that appeared in Bloomberg News earlier this week where I was interviewed by reporter Tom Black, where I said point blank that they were not taking social distancing seriously, and they weren't. And that happened combined with the positive test of the employee. The official company policy now is no one is to double endorse. That means if you're a loader, you are not to be sharing an extendo with another employee. You can be power scanning and breaking jams while the other person is loading in the nose of the trailer. The same thing goes in the unload. You can be unloading and the other person can be at the entrance of the trailer flipping labels. Well, under no circumstances are anyone to be in the same truck loading or unloading. James and I, and along with Kenetta Mateer, we've been policing that along with some of the other stewards, especially in the unload. Towards the end of the week, we saw less and less of it in the unload. I saw some of it in the outbound Friday night on my shift. I addressed it. My policy now, and I encourage all stewards to follow up and all members to go to their stewards, is to directly contact the responsible manager and get it fixed. And if it doesn't get fixed, then we go to the next level. We pursue the grievance procedure. Now, that being said, I'm going to go ahead and open up the floor. If you have a question or a comment, hit *9 to raise your hand, and we're going to take a couple questions and comments. So go ahead and hit *9.
Okay, this is Willie Austin, Durham Center. Myself and Tim Brown met with James Hurst, center manager, and in reference to the social distancing thing, the computers in the center that drivers look at to look at the map of their route. I spoke on that. That means that several different drivers have to touch the mouse. They have to stand in the walk path of other drivers that are coming through there. So you're within inches of several drivers over there on the computer. Also, drivers at the center drivers and loaders aren't taking the social distancing thing serious. We spoke to him about that. And they still doing it. As of yesterday morning, still seeing them doing it. And management, supervisors even not practicing the social distance completely. They also talking too close to drivers. We out here putting our lives on the line every single day. That's all I have to say. Thank you for your time.
Thanks, brother. I see Tyrone is next in the stack, so I'll go ahead and unmute you, Tyrone. Go ahead.
Yes, just like to add in on Article 18, we're not asking the company to do anything new. They should always been doing sanitary conditions. So we shouldn't have to ask the union to make the company to do that. It's already in the union book. And that's all I got to say. Thank you.
Thanks, Tyrone. Next person in the stack with their hand raised is Chris Jackson. Go ahead, Chris.
Hello. Hey, one of the things that I'm recognizing is a lot of the lower seniority guys are really not taking this as seriously as we can. If we can have parking lot meetings and get those guys to recognize how serious this really is, because this is why they are congregating in the front of the building. And that's all I have to say. Thanks, Chris.
Thanks, Chris. I see James Mateer has his hand raised. He's next in the stack. So I'm going to go ahead and let you speak, brother. Go ahead.
Yes, I just wanted to say that me and Dominique Frieda met with the division manager on Thursday about cell phones. We do recognize through this time we are essential workers. So we do need our cell phones. We do have families outside of UPS. Our lives does not revolve around UPS. I feel like our local need to really put pressure on the labor manager for us to have our cell phones at this time. But that's pretty much all I had to say. I really want to hear, questions from everyone else. Thank you. Chris, back to you.
Thanks, brother. Our last speaker before we close this out is going to be Linda again. Go ahead, sister.
Okay. Hi. So I guess this question is, I think Chris is probably the only agent that we have on the call. I'm not sure. But being that I am at Gilbarco, we are dealing now with layoff. The company also advised us that they are not going to file our unemployment. That's something we have to do, which traditionally was something that they did. But I want to know, what is the union doing, or what can they do, for instance, when we are being affected by this as well, to even look at possibly waiving our dues for this period of time? Yeah, Chris, if you could pass that on to Wayne for me about waiving our dues, we would greatly appreciate that as well. So with that being said, Farewell, everybody. Have a wonderful weekend and stay safe. Back.
Sorry, I muted you a little bit early, Linda. Just because you sent a direct question to Chris, let me go ahead and unmute Chris. Go ahead, Chris, and this will be the last speaker we have.
Chris, thanks. Linda, just real quick, they're working on a provision from the IBT for an adjustment of dues for layoffs. I know it has not been set yet, but yes, the IBT is addressing it, and we will follow the guidelines from the IBT for the dues, because really they're the ones that dictate that through the bylaws. Thank you.
Thanks, Chris. So we've had some excellent reports from Rank and File members today, along with business agent Chris Vaughn. I want to remind everyone that we have a collective responsibility to our brothers and sisters, our families, and to ourselves to force our employers to follow these CDC guidelines and social distancing, and not to pressure sick Teamsters to report to work. If you're ordered to do something unsafe, you need to refuse and demand your shop steward. If you see something, say something. Involve your steward, pursue it through the grievance procedure, involve your local union, call North Carolina OSHA, involve the media if you have to, if all those things fail. Once again, we want to encourage all of you to follow us on social media at Local 391 members only and at www.391fwd.com. Stay safe, and we'll get through this crisis together. Solidarity.